Most gardeners assume their soil gets better with age. It doesn't, not on its own. Every season you plant the same crops in the same beds, the soil is quietly losing ground. Nutrients pulled out and not replaced, pest populations building in the root zone, beneficial biology declining. By year 3, you're adding more fertilizer just to match what year 1 gave you for free. There's a system that stops this. It's been used for over 3,000 years. It costs nothing to implement, and most backyard gardeners have never been shown how it actually works. Here's what's actually happening in most gardens. You find a spot where tomatoes do well, so the following year you plant tomatoes there again. It works for a while. Tomatoes are heavy feeders. Every season they're in the same bed, they're pulling the same nutrients out of the same soil: nitrogen, calcium, potassium. By year 2, those nutrients are running thin. By year 3, you're fertilizing just to stay even. But the nutrient loss isn't even the worst part. Pest populations are building in that root zone the entire time. Root knot nematodes, fungal spores, overwintering larvae. They all thrive when their host plant keeps showing up in the same place every year. You're not just depleting the soil, you're training the pest population to expect you. Most gardeners respond by adding more fertilizer, more amendments, more products. It works just enough to keep going, which is exactly why the underlying problem never gets fixed. The fix isn't an amendment, it's a sequence, and that's what this video covers. The solution is crop rotation. And before you think you already know this, most gardeners know the term, but not the system. Moving your tomatoes one bed to the left is not rotation, it's rearranging the problem. What actually works is a 3-layer system. Every crop gets assigned a role. Those roles move through your beds in a deliberate sequence, season after season. Your soil doesn't wear out, it cycles. 3 layers. Layer 1, heavy feeders. Your big producers: tomatoes, corn, squash, peppers, cucumbers. These crops pull hard from the soil. They give you most of your food. They go first. Layer 2, light feeders. Crops that take far less: carrots, beets, onions, garlic. After the heavy feeders have worked to bed hard, light feeders can grow well on what's left. Layer 3, soil builders. This is the layer most gardeners skip, and it's the most important one. Legumes, beans, peas, clover. These plants don't just take less from the soil, they put back what was taken. After a soil builder runs through a bed, that bed is reset. 3 layers, 3 stages. One bed moves through all 3 over 3 seasons, then starts over. The layering is simple. The timing is where most people get it wrong. Year 1, this bed gets heavy feeders, tomatoes. Before you plant, add your best compost. Heavy feeders earn it. They're going to give you the most food, and they need the most input to do it. Your heaviest feeding bed should be your richest bed going in. Work the compost into the top 6 inches, not just the surface. The roots are going deep, and the fertility needs to be where they're going. By end of season, that bed has been worked hard. If you dig into it in the fall, you'll feel the difference. The soil is denser, less crumbly, slower to drain than it was in spring. The organic matter has been consumed. The nitrogen is gone. The microbial activity that made that soil feel alive has quieted down. That's not a failure. That's the system working as designed. The bed gave everything it had to your heavy feeders. Now it moves through the next 2 stages to get it back. The first generation of tomato-specific pests has also found a home in the root zone. They'll overwinter there, ready for next season. That's fine, because next season their host plant won't be there. Pull the tomatoes. What goes in next isn't chosen for what it needs, it's chosen for what it does to what's already there. Year 2 in this bed, light feeders, carrots. They don't need high nitrogen. Too much nitrogen causes carrots to fork and grow sideways instead of straight down. The depleted conditions left behind by the tomatoes are closer to what carrots actually prefer. You're not working against last season, you're working with it. Carrots are also deep-rooted. As they grow, their taproots push down through the compaction left behind by the heavy feeders, breaking it up, creating channels, improving drainage. The bed is doing structural repair while it's still producing food. You're harvesting carrots and rehabilitating soil at the same time. And here's the part most gardeners never think about. The pest populations that built up under your tomatoes, the nematodes, the overwintering larvae, the fungal spores, they need their host plant to survive. Remove the host, and the population collapses. In the first season without tomatoes in that spot, the nematode population starts to decline. Without a root system to feed on, reproduction slows and the existing population begins to die off. By the second season without tomatoes in that spot, the pressure drops dramatically. What would have required a soil drench or a chemical treatment takes care of itself just by changing what you plant and where. That's the part no fertilizer can do. Fertility you can add back. A pest population that's been building for 3 years takes time and absence to break. The rotation handles both. By end of year 2, the bed is structurally improved, the pest cycle is broken, but it's still nutrient depleted. Layer 2 breaks the pest cycle. Layer 3 is where the soil gets its money back. Year 3. Soil builders. Bush beans. Easy to grow, productive while they work, and the entire time they're in the ground, they're restoring what the previous 2 seasons took out. Here's the mechanism. Beans have a relationship with specific bacteria that live on their roots. Those bacteria pull nitrogen directly from the air, which is 78% nitrogen, and convert it into a form the soil can store. This process happens continuously throughout the growing season. The longer the beans are in the ground, the more nitrogen gets deposited. When the season ends, don't pull the bean plants out by the roots. Cut them at the base and leave the root system in the ground. That's where the nitrogen is stored, in small nodules attached to the roots. Leave them to break down over winter, and that nitrogen releases directly into the soil. By the time your heavy feeders go back into this bed in year 4, they're starting with a full tank. And here's what that looks like in practice. A bed coming out of a full 3-year rotation, heavy feeders, light feeders, soil builders, will outperform an unrotated bed without a single additional amendment. The rotation is the amendment. Gardeners who run this system consistently report that after the first full cycle, their fertilizer use drops significantly, not because they stopped caring about soil fertility, because the system is maintaining it for them. By end of year 3, the bed has been rested, restructured, and refueled. It goes back to heavy feeders in year 4. The cycle continues indefinitely. Your soil isn't depleting, it's being managed. To run this system, you need at least 3 beds. 4 gives you considerably more flexibility. The 4th bed can serve as a dedicated seed starting area in early spring, somewhere to get transplants going without occupying a rotation bed. It can hold perennial crops like asparagus or herbs that don't fit neatly into a 3-season cycle. It can be a trial bed for new varieties you want to test before committing them to your main rotation. 3 beds runs the system. 4 beds lets the system breathe. Assign each garden bed a layer at the start of the season. At the end of the season, each bed moves 1 step forward. Write it down. 3 squares on a piece of paper is enough. Without a written map, you'll start improvising, and improvising is how you end up with tomatoes in the same bed for the 4th year running. The map is what makes the discipline possible. Running the 3 layers is the system. Knowing your plant families is what makes it airtight. Avoid planting crops from the same family in the same bed in back-to-back years, even across layers. Plant families share pests and diseases, so rotating by crop name alone isn't enough. You need to rotate by family. Nightshades are tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant. Don't follow one with another. Follow nightshades with a root vegetable or a legume. Brassicas are cabbage, broccoli, kale, and cauliflower. They're heavy feeders, and they carry their own set of soil pests, clubroot especially. Don't follow one brassica with another. Give brassicas at least 2 seasons before they return to the same bed. Cucurbits are cucumbers, squash, and melons. Same rule. Rotate them out of a bed and don't bring them back until the bed has been through at least 1 full cycle. Knowing your plant families turns this from a 3-layer system into a genuinely comprehensive rotation. It's the difference between moving crops around and actually managing the biology of your soil. Most gardeners spend more on fertilizer every year just to hold their yields steady. This system makes that unnecessary. Heavy feeders extract. Light feeders rest the bed while still producing. Soil builders restore what was taken. 3 stages, cycling indefinitely. The garden that seemed to lose energy over time starts to gain it. Yields stabilize. Pest pressure drops without intervention. You spend less and harvest more. So pick 3 garden beds, assign each one a layer, and write it down before this season starts. Now you have the system. Go use it. If you need soil, fertilizer, or other items to start or supplement your garden, I have what you need linked in the video description. The next video covers succession planting, how to sequence follow-up crops so your beds are never sitting empty from last frost to first freeze. I'll see you over there.